Okay, welcome back to the Software Development Lab. A recap of what we had done last time. I think we had looked at how we can create REST APIs. We created our classes. We created our we created our classes. We created our controllers. At the same time, we tested them, and we saw how we can be able to use Git to be able to do version management or version control. So there was quite a lot of work that we had done in our previous class. So today, I want us to look at how we can create our user interfaces that now can talk directly to our application. So instead of using Postman, I want us to be able to create a user interface that the user can actually use to be able to enter data into a database and even read that data and display it for the user, because essentially that's what software design is all about. So that is going to be a this today rather is going to be a very important aspect as far as our labs are concerned. Then of course moving forward, we're just going to be focusing a lot on now moving back and forth. We're going to be, adjusting our database, adjusting our REST API, adjusting our user interface, and we're going to move back and forth as we are going to be achieving that. Okay, so I'll share my screen. I don't know if you can be able to see it. I think you should be able to see it, right? I said I don't like people coming late. Eh? Well, because we're only 2 minutes in, I think I'll allow these ones. So, are you able to see my screen? You can wave your hand, you can write a message. Okay, thanks, Felix. So, if you can see it, that's awesome. So today, now who are these? I really hate keeping people out, but sometimes I am forced to do that. I think after 40, I'm not allowing anybody else in. All right, so because you distract the others as we have already started. Awesome. Now, to create our user interfaces, there are so many tools that we can use. I mean, we can use mobile, that is native apps. We can use PWS or progressive web apps. These are applications that are written for the web but can be extended to the mobile UI. Then we also have native applications. These are the applications that are written for a particular environment like Windows or Linux or Mac or anything like that. So there's quite a lot of applications types that you can be able to do. In my case, I'm going to do what we call a PWA or a progressive web app, which means we are going to create the application on the web. Then we can customize, we can make it responsive to be user friendly on the mobile. Then, of course, later on, we can see how to convert it into an app by installing it on a mobile device and see how that works out. So it's going to be one code base that can be able to be used for multiple platforms, and that is the best part, the best way of starting off as a software engineer. You start off with something like a PWA, which gives you the capability of doing everything in between. So you can do desktop, you can do mobile, you can do tablet, and everything in between. So responsiveness is going to be a very important aspect. Now, because we're using PHP as our backend, it doesn't mean that you must use PHP. You can use something else. But in this particular case, I've used PHP. Now, for the front end, I'll use the technologies that are available for us. That is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is going to be used for styling, not for styling rather, but for publication. So HTML is the one that's going to tell the browser how to render certain things. CSS, on the other hand, will be used for styling. So it's going to add color and some sort of and small animation to our web pages. Then JavaScript is going to do the heavy lifting for us, which in this particular case, it's going to do the form validation, it's going to fetch the data remotely, it's going to create animation, reload parts of the page, and everything in between. So it's basically what is going to make our page alive. The other things are going to be for styling and publication purposes. JavaScript, on the other hand, is actually going to make it alive. Now, because using pure CSS is going to be a big deal, I'll also introduce something called Bootstrap So for styling, we'll use Bootstrap because basically there are CSS classes that allow us to be able to just add styles without necessarily writing them from scratch. Then also, because JavaScript is a very complex language, so to speak, I'm going to use a library called jQuery. jQuery will do for you the heavy lifting as far as JavaScript is concerned. For example, fetching data remotely. It's simply one line statement, and you're able to get data from your API. Of course, depending on the number of parameters you have, it could be multiple lines, but ideally, once you tell it to fetch for you data and you give the URL and the payload to push, it is able to go to the server, pick the data, and bring it back to you in JSON. So it makes it a hell lot easy rather than using the native JavaScript fetch API, which is going to be quite a bit of a hassle to use. Then, because also in our application we have to use some form of iconography, we'll use some fonts. There's so many font libraries out there that you can use, but I'm going to use Fontawesome for purposes of this demonstration. So feel at home. We're going to learn quite a lot today as far as UI is concerned, and mostly at the end of it all, we're going to build a UI that enables us to add city inside our database. So we're going to add cities into our database from our user interface. So you can see how powerful that gets. So let's get started now. I had taught a previous class and I'd showed them how to use some of these tools. So probably maybe my environment might have them ready, but I'll just demonstrate how we go about them anyway. So let's first of all start from the top. So we're going to open Visual Studio Code so that we know we start using our project. Okay, so we start our project. So I'll open file here, then open recent, then I'll pick Expedia. So I'll minimize this. I'm open my project. So first things first, I want to download Bootstrap. Bootstrap is going to do the styling for us. So I'll come here and I'll go to Google and I'll say Bootstrap. The current version of Bootstrap is 5, but I'm going to use Bootstrap 4 for the purposes of this presentation. 4 because 4 is a little bit more comfortable. It's more stable. So I like using something that is already that is stable. 5 isn't bad, but again, it has some breaking changes in terms of other components that they've used. But again, 4 will still work just fine for us. So you go to Google, you type Bootstrap 4, you click on Bootstrap 4 over here, and it will tell you how to install Bootstrap, as you can see. So you have the CSS for the Bootstrap and you have the JavaScript for the Bootstrap, or you can download the bundle for the Bootstrap. Again, you can use what we call a CDN or a content delivery network to load your Bootstrap, but I won't recommend that because it means that you always have to be online in order to be able to use it. So it's not going to be such quite a nice experience. So once you're on Bootstrap 4 over here, then you say get started. Actually, when you go to bootstrap.com, even without searching, then you say pick here version 4, which is what I like. So once you pick a version 4, it will bring you to this window, same as what you had on the other side. Then you can say download. So it will bring you to this window where you can download it from here. So I can click here to download Bootstrap. Then it will be able to download it here. So you can see it has downloaded Bootstrap 4.6.2. That is the distribution. So I'll open the folder. And once I open the folder, I'll simply right click and say extract. Then I'll give it Bootstrap 6.4. That. Then and let me just give it to the distribution like that. Then extract. Okay. So once I'm done with that, now inside this Bootstrap, I only need two files. I need the CSS file and the JavaScript file. So I'll come to CSS here and I'll pick bootstrap.min. Bootstrap.min.css, this one. You can use the min and the map, these two files. Now, map is important if you're going to use another library. So I only need the min, but the map can also be important if you're going to use other libraries. Min is what I need from here. So this is going to give me the bootstrap that I want. Now, this one is still, you can still use this one, but if you open this one, you'll find that it has a lot of spacing. It has a lot of comments and so forth and so forth. So if this one is, if you're doing development, you're going to see that it actually has a lot of spaces. Things are spaced out nicely. It has comments and all those kinds of stuff. So if you want to read what it does, so you can download this one. Otherwise, if you want to use it for production purposes, you will use this minified version. So that's why I picked this minified version over here. So for the minified version, you can see it's basically just one line end to end. It's crazy, but well, it works. The browser knows how to actually translate this. Okay, so that works out. So I can use either, but for purposes of development, I'm going to use the minified version, which is this. So I will copy this, then I will go to where my program is actually located. So I'll come to C, then I'll come to XAMPP htdocs, C, then XAMPP htdocs, then I'll come to my Expedia. Then inside Expedia, I have a folder called CSS. I will paste my Bootstrap file here. So you can see I already copied it before, but I just want to show you how to do it. Then I'll come to now the CSS, to the JavaScript file. Then I'll pick the bootstrap.min.js, this one over here. So you can still use bootstrap.js if you want to read the details of what the file does, but the minified version is going to give you just one line. It removes spaces and comments and all that to make the file much smaller in terms of download. So if you just want to read what it does, go to bootstrap.js. You're going to find all the functions that Bootstrap is doing inside here. Again, for development purposes, you might want to use Bootstrap.js. For production purposes, because I am not going to change Bootstrap, I'll just pick the minified file, I'll copy it, then I will go to my application, then I'll go to JavaScript folder, then I'll paste the file here. So you can see I have bootstrap.minified file here. So that's how you install Bootstrap. Okay, just download then those two files, bootstrap.min.js and bootstrap.min.css. So each one goes to the appropriate folder. So if you go to my folder, you'll find that I created a folder called JavaScript, another folder called CSS. Basically, because that is where my front end, that's where my front end libraries are going to go. Now, after you have installed Bootstrap, the next thing you need to do is to install a library called jQuery. Now, I know right now most people are using things like React and Angular and Vue and Next and all these other and Node and all these JavaScript libraries that are out there. They are good, they work nicely, but I want something that is lightweight for this particular application and it does not alter how JavaScript works. Like, for example, if I'm going to use React or even Vue or Next, probably I'll have to use something like TypeScript. So, TypeScript is a variant of JavaScript, but I want to use vanilla JavaScript in my application. So, for this particular reason, I'm going to avoid using these other large libraries or frameworks. I'll use jQuery instead. It will be able to give me something similar to what these other tools are doing, but without the configuration necessary for these other tools and the complexity that they bring along with them. So to download jQuery, just open again Google, then just type jQuery. Once you type jQuery, click download jQuery, and then you can pick the most recent version, which is jQuery 3.7.1. So just click on this. You can download the minified version if you want, but I'll use the uncompressed version, which is here. This is the compressed version. This is the uncompressed version. So for development purposes, I'll download this uncompressed version so that you can be able to see exactly what it is doing. Now, if you download the other compressed version, it will give you the same file but compressed. So no spaces, no comments, and all that kind of stuff. Now, once you have this file like this, you can right click on the middle here, then you say save as. Then once you say save as, just locate where your JavaScript files are. So they're in C, XAMPP, htdocs, Expedia. Then jQuery is a JavaScript library, so I'll go inside JavaScript folder over there. Then I will save it inside there. So You can see it has saved it as js.js. I should have given it a proper name. I should have called it jQuery. Though in the past I'd already saved it as jQuery. Sorry, that's opening the file. I just needed, so you can see I have this js.js. So it has gone inside XAMPP. So actually that's not even where I wanted it. So where I wanted it was right click, save as. Then once I'm inside XAMPP, I'll go into a folder called Expedia. Oh, I've called it Expedia.js. Sorry. So, well, but you get the idea of how you can save a file. Again, let me just redo that. I don't know what's happening with me today. Save as. So from XAMPP here, htdoc XAMPP, htdoc. Then after htdoc, I don't go into XAMPP. I go into Expedia. Expedia, I think it was Expedia. Then inside Expedia, I go to JavaScript. Then I save it here. So you can see I already have it here, jQuery 3.7.1.js. So once you save it, it becomes part of your application. That's basically it. You are home and dry. Now the other thing we need to load, I said, is Fontawesome. For iconography, we're going to use something called Fontawesome. So for Fontawesome, yeah, you can use a lot of libraries. We have a lot of video library, not video, but icon libraries out there. For example, let me just open Notepad here to explain. So we have Bootstrap has icons. So we have Bootstrap icons. Let me open this. So we have Bootstrap icon, Bootstrap. Like since you're using the Bootstrap as CSS, we can also use Bootstrap icons. So Bootstrap icons, open your browser, then just say Bootstrap icons. And the way we use them is the same. Only the names are going to be different. But if I come to Bootstrap, then I come to icons over here. I'll be able to get. Then I come to viewing the icons. Um, Let me get started. Then I say, actually, let me just go to the icons part so that I view the icons themselves. So if you come to icons, you'll see we have all these icons that you can be able to use as far as Bootstrap is concerned. There are many, they are free of charge, so you can use them to your liking. So you don't need to buy icons, just use the Bootstrap icons as appropriate. So you can see there are quite many and you can search. Maybe I want an icon for users. So I can come up here and say, I want an icon for user, then you press enter. So it will give you all the icons that you can use as far as it is concerned. Download user, user has a message, add a new user, and all that kind of stuff, lock user's account, and so forth and so forth. So if I want another one for menu, I can come here and say menu, and it will give me all icons that are related to menu, so I can be able to use all these icons. So Bootstrap icons are a good fit. You can use them if you like, but I'm going to prefer to use something called Fontawesome. So Fontawesome icons are good, and why I like Fontawesome is because they come in different colors. So we have light, we have solid, we have those ones in duotone, which means it can take two colors. Yeah, we have quite a lot of styles when it comes to Fontawesome icons, and this is what makes them very very powerful. For Bootstrap, you can see the icons are basically flat, as you can be able to see. Then if I come to Fontawesome icon over here, Fontawesome, when I click these icons for Fontawesome, I know they're at version 7, but you're going to use version 5. You can use any version anyway because they provide both free and paid icons. I like version 5 because there's a lot of icons over there and I've used them for quite some time, so the naming is fairly consistent with me. So from here, if I can come and search, somebody says something. Um, okay, these people who are joining later, let me just give you the benefit for now, but I don't like the idea of disrupting the class once we are continuing. So when you can search here something like user, let me just show you what I mean. So if you come to user, you'll see Fontawesome will search version 7. and you'll get quite a number of icons as far as users are concerned. So what I'll do here, I'll say I want to search. So you can see I have a hacker. Then I have, you see now I have the classic regular ones. You see they look much more nicer, and there are way too many. This is duotone solid. Then we have duotone regular, duotone light, duotone thin. They have quite a number of icons they can be able to use. Of course, not all of them are free. Only the free ones are the ones that don't have the pro. Some that does not have the pro icon, you can actually use it for free. So I can use this one for free. I can use this one for, well, this one is the only one I can use for free. But these other ones I can use for free. The solid ones I can use for free. So if I say I want menu, this is version 7. Let me go to version 5 because that's what I like using at the moment. Again, it doesn't really matter which version you're using. I think what's important is you having the iconography part. So you can see for the version 5, user alone has 565 icons, which is quite a lot. This is free, 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 this is free. The ones that don't have pro are literally free, and you can use them the way you want. I have a graduate here, I have a user astronaut here, I have a user check here, I have a user clock here. Yeah, so I can, all the icons that are labeled, that are not labeled pro, I can't be able to use them free of charge. And that's why I prefer to use Fontawesome. So to download Fontawesome, simply come to Fontawesome, then you say get started. I don't know if they've changed the site, but I think from the home, you can go to docs or you can go to start. I think start should be uh, able to help us to get started. So let me just go back and pick start. Then from here, I'll say start for free, which is here. So they want me to provide my email address. I don't want that. I'll simply say download down here. Then after download, I'll say I want version 5. Then after version 5, I'll say free for web, which is here. So it will download the icons for me like this. So it's not big as you can see. It will download it. So once it's done downloading, then we can be able to extract the fonts. Then I'll show us how to install them so you can start using them. So let me just start. Let me just, well, I don't know it's taking long, but this shouldn't be, it's a rather small file, so it should have been able to download my first. I think it's finished downloading, but I'm still trying to prepare it one way or another. So let's just give it a couple of seconds, see how that works out. Okay, so it's finished. So I'll open the folder. Again, I'll right click and I'll say extract. Because this is a zip file, I will say extract all. Because I'm using Windows, then I'll say just extract them in a folder called Font Awesome. Let me call it version 2. Then I'll extract. Of course, once I'm done, it will show me the extracted files. So let it finish extracting. It shouldn't take long. So it will extract actually all the fonts that you can be able to use free of charge. They are SVG files, they are icon files, and quite a number of files. So we're going to focus on the font as we're going to use the icons as fonts. In our case, we want to use the icons as fonts so that we see how that works out. So I'll get started with that. So let's give it some time. Now it's finished installing, so it's going to open it for us. Now once it has finished, the things that we need inside this folder are only two things. I need this web fonts folder because this is what I'm going to use. So I'll pick this web fonts folder over here. I'll copy it. Then I'll go where my program is. So I'll go where my program is. So let me just open it from here again. It's not a big deal. So I'll go to C XAMPP htdocs. C XAMPP htdocs. Sorry. So the C XAMPP htdocs Expedia, which is here. So once I'm there, I'll go inside my CSS, not actually CSS, but just on the root of that Expedia. Then I will paste web form. So you can see I already pasted it here. So you just come and paste it here. It can overwrite this, um, but basically that's what you do. So you paste that web fonts. Then after you paste the web fonts, go back to the download folder again. Then come to this CSS folder. Then pick this all.css. All.css, this one. You can use the minified version or you can use the uncompressed version. There's not so much big difference on all of them. So I just pick this. Then I will copy it and I will add it inside my CSS folder. As you can see, I already have all.css. So I have literally installed all the tools that I need to enable me be able to work with those technologies that I've mentioned. I have downloaded jQuery, I've downloaded a Bootstrap, and I've also downloaded Fontawesome, and I've configured them properly so that I can be able to use them within my application. So moving forward, let's see how we can be able to create our city's user interface and see how we can be able to utilize the REST API that we had created previously in order to show us how to be able to work on these things together. So we already opened our application folder, which is here. And as you can see, I already have Font Awesome, I already have Bootstrap, and at the same time, I have jQuery. So those are the three things that I needed. Our models have cities. They have we have the city um, uh, uh, API, and at the same time, we have the city controller, which is here. Now, this is the REST API that allows us to be able to actually save a city, filter cities, and also get city details as appropriate. So we're going to create, so outside here, so I don't need all this, but outside here, I'm going to create a new file and I'll call it city.html. So now in this city.html, I want to be able to create a new city. So I'm going to introduce something called a model, which is a Bootstrap user interface tool. And I'm going to have a table. So first of all, I'll have a place where I can be able to filter things out. Maybe I'll say I want cities from this country. Maybe I can give the name of the city. Then probably I can give a button to search. Then a table with all the cities. Then a button will add a new city that pops up a dialog and allows me to create a new city altogether. So let's do that. So I'm going to use something called Emmet. Emmet is an inbuilt tool in Visual Studio Code that allows me to be able to create user interfaces very, very fast. So in short, you just type the commands that you would like. I'm going to give you the Emmet cheat sheet if you would like to read it, but maybe just give you a small primer on what it does. So, Emmet cheat sheet. So, you want to make this your friend. You want to make this cheat sheet your friend because it will tell you how to be able to create elements on your pages very, very fast. So, if you want to create a child, you use that. If you want to create a sibling, you use that. Well, but I'm going to show you how we will use them. But this cheat sheet is something you might want to have on your desktop. It makes it a hell lot easier for you in terms of adding a few elements here and there. And you can see it's not very big. It's something that if you master, you can be able to write very, very complex code within a very, very short time. Let me give you an example. If I wanted to create an entire web page with a heading and the CSS structure, I'll simply put exclamation mark, then I'll press enter, and you can see it has already output all these commands for me. So what it has done is it has created a document type HTML, it has given me a head, it has given me a title, a body, and of course close the HTML document. So the only thing I need to do is to start typing my HTML over here. So here I'll simply say city. So I'll simply say expedia.com, then cities. So that's the title I want for my document. Now, in this document, I wanted three sections. One section for filtering, one section for viewing the details, then the bottom section for adding a new file, which pops up a model that allows me to add a country. So let's see how that works out. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a container. So that's why I was saying we're using Bootstrap. So Bootstrap, when I say container, Bootstrap has a class called container and it already knows how to format it. So when I say container, then I say container fluid, which means I don't want it to cover the whole screen. I want it to be to look nicer on the screen. So I use container fluid like that. So after container fluid, I'll put a card here, and inside the card, I'll put a card header. So when you use when you use child, it's actually supposed to be card, then child, then card header. And I want you to observe what it does down here. So that's how the HTML comes out, card header. Then inside card header, I want to put H5, and inside the H5, I want to put some strings, and I'll say filter options. So once I put filter options, I'll want to go up one level. So up one level, I'll simply use that to go up one level because I'm inside H5. So I want to go outside H5. Then I put a card body like that. So you see, if I type that statement like that, this should be card body. When you type that statement like that, that's it. That is what it does. It creates a card, then it creates a card header, then it creates a H5, then it gives me some text H5, then it creates another card and it gives me that card as body. So from here now, I can't be able to apply the filter options. So maybe just looking at it on how the screen will look like. Let's go live over here. So you can see filter options is there. Now it's not looking very nice simply because I have not included my bootstrap file in the kind of file that I'm using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this code and I'm going to show them side by side so that now as we're designing it, we're also able to see how it comes out. Now what I forgot to do was to attach the bootstrap file to this folder. So since I have bootstrap inside CSS here, I have this bootstrap file and this Fontawesome file. I need to include them in this file. So how do we include them? We simply come to the head here. Then we say link. Then we want to link CSS files. Then I'm going to go into a folder called CSS. Then I'll pick bootstrap.min.css. That's going to pick it up. And as you can see, now the styles have applied. So you can see now it has become a little bit different. So now I have a card and I have a header here. So even though H5 is a bit bigger, we can probably format it much later to make it look much nicer. But again, Bootstrap will have done at least 90% or 85% of the work. Then I also need to include Fontawesome. So I'll say link here, which is a CSS file. And I'll say go to the CSS folder, then get all dot CSS like that. That should also include our files. Now, this card, I want it to have some margins at the top. So I'll put here class, then I say margin top of 2. So I want you to see how Bootstrap does it. So you can see when I say margin top of 2, I already had a class here. So the only thing I needed to do was just to put a space here and add a margin top of 2. So um yeah, it should have come down. It should have come down. I don't know. A padding top of 2. Also, it's padding this, not the container itself. So what I need to do was to pad the container itself. So the container, pad it twice. So you can see this container has gone down. It has left the line, it has actually come down a bit. So we're at filter options over here. Now inside here, we want to apply a tab. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create 3 fields. One for selecting the country, one for providing the city name, then a button for searching. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I want them to be on one line, I'm simply going to first of all create a row. Row that tells Bootstrap. I don't know why my machine nowadays is a bit slow. So row will tell Emmet to create for me a new row. Is it that my machine is? Yeah, so the recording is ongoing well. Let me see what the issue is. Is it that my machine is full? No, it has space. So since it has space, why is it giving me an issue in terms of compilation? So dot row. So that will create a row. Then I'll create a column. Then that column will also form what we call a form group, like that. So inside the form group, I'll put a label. Sorry, I'm trying to type fast, faster than this thing is thinking. So I'll put a label. So that's the power of Emmet anyway. It allows you to be able to just type things and it's able to complete them for you. So you don't have to type everything from the ground up. So this label will be for filter country. Then I'll say country. Then from the country, I will select. I'll do a select, which is a drop down list. And this select, I'll give it an ID of filter country. Then I'll give it several classes like form control so that it formats it as a form. Then I'll say form control small. So that will be able to filter it out. We'll be able to format it out as a country. So once Emmet comes, you see this blue something over here. You can actually click on it, or you can just press enter. So you can see now I have country, which is a drop-down list. It doesn't have anything at the moment, but that is fine. So I'll give it the same name, filter country. Not a big deal. I don't know why my machine is sluggish when I am in class, but nonetheless, we're just going to manage it as we move along. So filter country, I can give it the same name here, filter country. Now, once I have done that, then I can put country name. So I'll give another column here. Then I'll also give that column a form group. Well, I'm typing faster than this thing is thinking. Let me give it some time to think. Though ideally it should be much, much faster. It should usually be as I type, it just automatically fills it in. I don't know what happens sometimes when I come to class for this. So filter form group, well, that is taking longer than usual. I think it will be even much faster for me to just type it directly. Um, dot call dot form group like that. Well, ideally I should have typed div class form group, but before form group I give it column. Then once I'm done, I close here. Then once I'm done, I close the div here like that. So that's ideally what that command should have done. But you see, now I'm typing more than necessary. Label. Okay. Label for, I'll say filter city name. Then I'll put city name. Then I'll put lab. So you can see if I'm to do it by hand, I'm typing a lot of things. So now there's another one here. City label should appear. City label should appear there. Then now for the city, I'll just give a name. So I'll put an input of type text with an ID of filter city name. Then I'll give it form control. Then form control SM like that. So yeah, so if it has come like that, I just click on that. It should be able to type it for me. Then I'll say filter city name. Now with that, I should have country here and city name next to it. I don't know why it is taking long to refresh. Could it be that I don't have internet? I think I do have access to internet. So let me close these ones. So now you can see I have country and city name. So we're going to list our countries here. Then you're going to put our city names here. I don't know why my machine is sluggish all of a sudden. Then we also need to have an icon next there. So I want to have an icon next to city. So I'll just click on that and say search. Because I want to have that, what I'll do here, I'll put an input group. an input group. So inside an input group, well, it's taking forever to think. Um, well, maybe let me just type it by hand. So I'll create a div with a class of input group. Then I'll close it up. Then I'll put my div here. Then I'll put another div here with a class of input group append. Append means to put at the end of it. Then I'll also close that. Then here I'll put a button. Let me see, button with a class of btn, another class of btn success, another class of btn small. Well, that's literally how I type the code. I don't know why Emmet is misbehaving all of a sudden, but it should have been able to pick that up and give me a way of completing it like that. I don't know why my machine is so slow. So I'll give it an ID of saying such cities, something like that. So then an ID was of such cities, such cities. Then I'll give it a text there or button, sorry, button has a class of btn, so button has a class of btn, not like that. So this is not search but search, search cities, and such cities. So let me just give some time. It's a nuisance today, but usually this should not be a challenge. Emmet is usually very fast inside Visual Studio Code. So just click on that. So it will say such cities. Now, such cities, then I'll pick these. I can say here such if you want to see the icon. Then I'll check this one and put it as part of that that input group, which is here. So I want them to be together. So I'm just creating an input and a button together in one user interface. That's what I'm trying to achieve with Bootstrap. So with that one, it saves. Then I rerun it all over again. Ideally, this should just load automatically without me needing to do anything. But I don't know what is again happening on my computer today. I don't have a lot of resources running, so maybe I can just close these ones. So let me just close up these ones. So now you can see I have country, city, and a search icon. But I want to use an icon here instead of the word, or I can use both an icon and the word search. So to use icons, that's why we introduced Fontawesome. So I want to put a search icon on this. So I'll come here where I'm putting the word search here. I can add an icon. So to add an icon, usually you use the I command. So when you put I like that, that means you want to add an icon. Okay. So you put an icon, then you give it a class. So I want font awesome solid, then font awesome search, something like that. Then I press enter. So it will give me a class, an icon with font awesome solid, font awesome search, and you can see it has actually put the search icon over there. So even if I remove this word search, then it means that that is going to allow me to have just a search icon instead of the word search, which I think looks much better that way. Then after that, we want to create a table down here so that now we can be able to see the city names once we filter them out. So after I'm done with this, so these ones can go outside one level there, like that. So inside the card body, I can now create a table. This table will have a class of table. It will be a smaller table, which means the lines are not as wide. I also want them to be striped, so which means rows have alternating backgrounds, striped. Somebody's saying something. Um, oh, nobody's saying anything. Okay, sorry. So I want it to be striped. Then I want to create a table head.
Hello, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, at sometimes you are breaking and your screen is somehow delaying when you type.
Okay.
So and you can't see the whole content on your screen.
I think probably it's my internet, but this is being recorded, so probably on the video it will be much, much more clearer. Okay, so just bear with me. I think today I think it's either my connection that is unstable, or maybe my machine for some reason is misbehaving. But because we are recording this, I'm hoping that the recording will be a little bit clearer for us. So let's just persevere if that is actually the case. Or maybe it could even be on your end, the internet connection is not good. So there could be several factors that can be leading to that. So kindly bear with me. Let's just proceed so that we see how this is achievable. Okay. So as I was saying, I want to create a table with a class of table. It's a small table. It is striped. Then inside the table, I'll create a head. That's the table header. Then inside the head, I'll create table headers, and I'll put maybe say the number, the country code, the country name, number of cities, airports, and airlines. Then whoever added it and date that it was added, when it was added. I know we don't have these two elements, so I'll stop at airlines. So one, two, three, four, five, six. So it has six columns. So when I say th and I say times six, now this is where now image shines, and I press enter, you can see it has automatically created six table headers for me like that. So Emmet is good in terms of typing codes faster. So you don't necessarily need to do a lot of typing. Just know how to use it, and it enables you to be able to type much, much faster. So again, this will be the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be the code, the country code. This will be the country name. Actually, we are talking about cities. So this will be country. This will be city name. Then I have here airports in that city and airlines in that city. Airlines in that city. Then also we're going to have a button for editing. So I'll put an unbreaking space. So I'm not going to put anything inside there, but this is going to be a space where the edit button is going to go. So if I want to edit a city, the edit button will be appended right there. So I have my table, and that is table head. Then after table head, I want to create table body. This is very important because after the table head, I have the table body where I now list all my elements. So if I refresh this, I don't know why it's not automatically refreshing. Now you can see I have a table over there. Then once I have a table, I want to add a button down here that enables me to be able to add a new city. So after the table, I'll create a button with a class of add, not class but ID, add new city. Then I'll give it a class of btn, a small button, and I want it green in color. So you can learn about Bootstrap and see how the Bootstrap styles apply. So I mean, if we were to do it by hand here, it would take forever for us to be able to achieve this. But I can give us a bit of primers. Maybe in the next class, I can give us a primer on how the Bootstrap classes work out. So once I have that, I'll put that and say add new city like that. So I'll wait for image to complete. I'll wait for email to complete so that it allows me to be able to complete that. So I'll click on that or I just press enter. Once it comes, then it creates a new button. So you can see there's a new button here saying add new city. Now I want to put an icon next to add new city. So I'll say icon, font awesome, solid, font awesome plus, like that. That should allow me to add the plus icon next to here. So you can see it has that plus icon. Now, where do I get these names? Just go to Font Awesome, then you go to icons, Font Awesome, then just search for icons, then you'll be able to get the name. So if you don't know the name of any icon or you want a specific icon and you want to know the name, this is how you're going to get the name. But of course, as you continually use them over and over again, you tend to understand how that works out. So again, I think it's my internet that's a bit slow. So I'll just come here and I'll say search. Then after search, I'll put the name of the icon that I want to search and also specify the version that I'm searching from. So I'll say version 5. I think it's my internet that's a bit wanting. So I'll pick a version 5, then I can type the name of the icon. It will be able to give me the icon names. So I'll put here and I'll say I want plus. Then here I'll say I want version 5 here. Then I'll get all the pluses for version 5. The ones that are free are the ones that I want to use, like in your case. So I'll give it some time to search. My computer is a bit slow, so I have this plus over here. Click on it, then you're going to see the actual name. So the actual name is there, fast for plus, which is what I've actually typed here. Fast for plus. So it's only that I've used it for quite some time, so I know how the name works out. And this is if you're using HTML. If you're using React or Vue or Angular or other libraries, they have different ways of actually referring to them. But we're using HTML, so we're going to stick to this. Okay, so I have add new cities. So far, so good. If I look at this user interface, you can see it is responsive. So if I'm using a bigger screen, it fills in a bigger screen. If I'm using a smaller screen, it fills in the smaller screen equally. So this is a good start. Bootstrap is handling the responsiveness for us in the meantime, so we don't need to do much. And that's why I said when it comes to designing some of these tools, you might not necessarily do it from scratch because that will take you a very long time to achieve. So I want that. If I click on Add City, I want a window to pop up here, ask me to select country, provide city name, then buttons for saving and closing. And that is referred to as a model. So you can use a Bootstrap model to allow you to achieve the same. So again, you can open a browser window here, then you type Bootstrap for model. I'm using Bootstrap 4 because Bootstrap 5 model is a bit different. Just use Bootstrap 4 model. Click on that Bootstrap 4 model. It will take you to the documentation and it will give you an example of what a model is. This is an example of a model. So it is something that appears on top of your page. It has a title, it has where you put your body, and it has icons at the bottom. So as you can see, I don't need to create it from the ground up. It's already created. And by the way, this code is not as much. So you can see, you can pick a class model. Then the only thing you need to do is inside it, give it something called model dialog. That's the only thing you need to. So any portion of your page can be made a model so long as you're giving it this class model dialog. Then the rest means that it pops up on the screen and you can do anything you want with it. I want a similar structure that they have used here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just scroll somewhere on the right here. There should be a copy icon. There should be this copy icon over here. So just copy that. Then come to where just before you close your body, put a comment there and say this is model for um, city details. City details like that. Then you paste that model inside there. Then you just format it nicely. So I'll push that in the inside. Then I'll push these two also on the inside. So I think that should be able to do the work. So I have the model and all that. The model title, I'll put city details like that. Then the model body, this is where I'm going to put all my forms. Now I don't like how these buttons look. I want the save one to be first. So I'll alternate them. I want to change save to be first, followed by close, like that. So that is good. So save follows close, or rather close follows save. Then here, I don't like that button, so instead of primary, I'll say success. Then I'll make the button smaller. The other one, I'll make it white background with the red outline, but when you hover over it, it becomes red full. So that is outline danger. Then I also make it smaller, like that. Then the content that I want here, I want to be able to add city and country name, and of course where I'm going to display errors. So first of all, I'll have city details notifications. That's where I'm going to show the errors. So it's going to be blank for now. Then I want to create two form groups, one with a drop-down list for selecting country, the other one with a place where I'm typing the city name. So I'll come here and I'll say dot form group. Then I'll put a label where I'm typing faster than I can think. Let me give you time label. Then this will be for city details, um, country. So that's where the country is going to be. So I'll put country here. Then I'll put a space for country. So I'll select and I'll say city details country. Then I'll give it form control small, something like that. So I'll wait for Emmet to do his thing. I don't know what is happening with my equipment today. It's a bit sluggish than it should be. Yeah, it's come, so I'll press enter. Then I'll say city details country. It's not supposed to behave like that. It should be much, much faster. You won't even need to blink. As you type, it should just be able to detect. Then I'll got another div. I don't need div, I'll just say form group. That will create two elements. One a label that say city details city name. Was taking forever to okay. That will be city details city name. So this is going to be city name. So here I'm going to put an input of type text with an ID of city details city name. Then I'll give it city name. I'll give it a form control. Then form control SM. So I just want the form to be squashed a bit. So you can see now it's starting to become a bit faster. So city details city name. I like giving the ID and the name as the same thing. So not a big deal. Now I have this model. The only other thing I need to do is to give the model an ID. So I'll give it city details ID. So now I have created that model. I can still see it on my page. Even if I click add new, nothing would happen. That's okay. It's because I've not attached um, uh, an action to this button so that when I click on it, the model pops up. And that's where jQuery now comes in. So if you look at my page, I have not attached um, the JavaScript files. So what I'm going to do is I'll attach the JavaScript files down here. So I'll put script because that's how we attach JavaScript files with a source attribute. Well, it's taking forever. Also, it's thinking forever. So I'll use script. Well, let me give some, yeah, script. Then I'll put a source here. Then the source will be going inside the JavaScript folder. Then get me the jQuery 3.7.1.js. Now, after jQuery, I'll also introduce Bootstrap. So I'll come again, script. So script, I'll use also jQuery, then I'll use Bootstrap. Um, and I think that's basically it. Then since I already have those two, now I'll come inside my folder here where I have JavaScript. Then I'll create a new file and I'll call it um, city.js because all the code that is going to affect this page is going to go under city here. So I'll press enter. It is playing. So what I'll do again is I'll come to my city HTML and incorporate that file script. Then I'll add the city script. Okay, source. Then I'll say go to JavaScript folder and pick city.js like that. So the city file has already been attached here. Now on this city file, I'm going to use jQuery to trigger most of those events. So jQuery is usually started with a dollar sign like that. Or if you like, you can put dot jQuery. This is a bit too much if you ask me. It's the same thing. So dollar sign and this jQuery word are one and the same thing. So I'll say dollar sign. So jQuery, listen to the document. When the document is ready, which means all the assets have been loaded, run the following anonymous function. This is how JavaScript works inside itself. So what I'm saying is jQuery, listen, once the document has downloaded everything it needs to download, then run the following function. So that's what that statement means. So what is the function? The function, what it will do is first I will declare these buttons as constant. Anything I want to use on my page, usually I declare it as a constant because it's not going to change. And the advantage of using a constant is I don't need to jump in and out of the DOM every other time I want to change something, which is a performance issue. So I'll say I want to declare a constant here, and I'll say add new button is a constant that refers to this. Now jQuery uses CSS-like syntax. So if you want to select an element by ID, you simply use a hash. So jQuery uses CSS-like syntax. So add new button is this button over here, and that button we gave it an ID of add new city. So I'll pick this ID and I'll put it here. Add new city like that. Okay. Then I'll declare my model. So city details model is equals to, I'll pick element by ID again. I'll go to that model, and that model is city details. It should be city details model, not ID. City details model. So I'll pick that, and I'll also store it inside here like that. So when I click on this button, I want this model to show. So I'll put a comment here. Listen to city, click button, and show model. So I'll pick this button and I'll add an event listener. Event pasting is an issue. Okay. So add new city button. You can see my computer is a bit, actually it's add new button, not city, but add new button. Add new button. Then I'll say dot on. When you click on it, run the following function. So this add new button and this add new button is the same, but it does not change color. I don't know what is still happening in the background, but it should have changed. Yeah, that's okay. It does not change color. So when you click on add new button, I want you to take this model and show it. So I'll say this model dot model, then you say show. You can either show or hide. Now this is what the Bootstrap CSS is actually doing. So if I come here and I click on add new, so you can see now it has given me the model, and it already has the country name and the city name, and now I can be able to do my validation. So I can pick a city, I can pick a country, provide a city, click on save. Now I don't like the way this save and this close look like. I want to add icons to them. So to add icons to them, I'll come back again to cities over here. Then I'll come to the icon to the buttons themselves over here. I'll add the icons. So I dot font awesome solid dot font awesome save dot font awesome large. So that will create an icon with all those three classes: FAS, FSF, FA, large. It is still thinking. I don't know why it is thinking forever. Clearly, there's something wrong with my computer today. So I'll let it, yeah, it has come. So I'll press enter and it will add that icon. So again, I'll copy this because I don't want to, I'll put close here. Then this one I'll use times. Instead of save, I'll use times like that. So when I click on add new, you can see I have save and I have close, which look much better. Of course, I don't like the Phantom solid icons, but it explains that I have a better looking user interface. This is awesome. We have done quite a lot. Now, the only thing I need to do is I need to populate countries here. And to populate countries here, we already have the countries from our database. So I don't want to do it from scratch. I simply want to go into my database. Not even my database, I want to go to my REST API, which is here. I'll go to country operations, which is here. Then I'll say get countries. Then it should give me a list of all the countries because we already have them inside my database. And that's the essence of why we are creating these REST APIs in the first place, because we want to be able to reuse them over and over again without writing the code from scratch. So let's see how we can be able to add the countries. So to add the countries, again, what you're going to do is we can't run this thing directly as it is here. That won't be able to work out, but let's write the code first, then we can switch gears a bit, then see how we can be able to actually run that because I'm not using the regular fetch API, so it means that this thing has to run as though as it is coming from that server directly for that effect to take place. If I was using the regular fetch API, I would have been able to just access it directly from here. But then again, the API is also a little bit complex on its own, so probably I want to leave out the complexity as far as that is concerned. But again, let's just come back to our cities.api and let's create a function here that says get countries. So function get countries. So what I will do is I will give it an object where I want the country to be added. Then I'll also tell it how to show. Am I picking all or choose? So I'll say option, which default will be choose. So I only need those two options. So again, I'm just showing you how to write a JavaScript function, and this JavaScript function has two parameters: object, which means the object that you want to load the countries into, and option, what will be displayed in terms of the selection. Are we picking all or are you choosing a single selection? So that's what this is all about. So here it's going to be very simple like this. I will simply say jQuery get JSON. And this is where now it becomes very powerful. Get JSON. Get JSON has three parameters or two parameters, if you may. Then you can listen to fail or success. But I like using the fail or success so that I'm able to see if there are any errors in fetching the data. So the first parameter would be the URL or the endpoint. So my endpoint is going to go inside a folder called controllers. Inside controllers, I'll have country operations, country operations.php. Then that is the first parameter. The second parameter will be an object that is sending over the data that I need. So I'm pushing over the data to the server so that it is able to pick that data, pick this endpoint, then it gives me back the feedback. Now, the data that I'm pushing would be get countries. This one has to be set, okay? So because I'm using get JSON, I'll use get countries. So here I'll say get countries and I'll give it a value of true. I don't need any other parameter. So the first parameter is the endpoint. The second parameter is the payload, what I am sending over so that this page knows exactly what to do. Then here, when it is successful, it will be done. And I'm going to get some data from there. So what do I do with this data? I'll decide. Now I'm using a fat arrow here, but I can use a regular function here. I can simply say function data like that. So either would work out, but I like using short arrows. But because we are just getting started, let me just use regular function. So this is an anonymous function. So once it is done, it will execute this anonymous function. So whatever is inside here will be executed. Now there's a possibility that it can also fail. Maybe the URL is wrong, maybe I've not provided the endpoint, maybe I've not provided some parameters and so forth and so forth. So most likely, or in some scenarios, it might fail. Now, when it fails, it will give you three things. It will give you a response, it will give you a status, and it will give you the error that was returned. So usually it will give you those three things. Again, I want to use a regular function, so I'll just add the function here. Like that. So when it fails, it will execute this function. When it is successful, it will execute this function. So that's how the get JSON part of jQuery works. What's important, this is very simple because it will attempt to execute this API endpoint based on the data provided here. If it is successful, what will happen? You'll do inside here. If it fails, what will happen? You will do inside here. So when it is successful, I'll just populate this data. So I'll simply create a variable here called results. And this result, I'll say if this option that are provided up here is equals to choose, then what I will output will be something like this. Let me use a template string option value is equals to blank. Then I'll say and less than choose and greater than, like that. Then I will close my option like that. Let me just put them in separate lines so that you see what they look like in full. So that will be our first option. Our second option, if it is not successful, if it is not choose rather, then we'll say option value is equals to 0. Then value is equal to rather 0. Then the text that I'm going to put there is sorry and less than, and I'll say all. So it means that you can pick either one or all. Then I'll close my option. So that will be the initial value of result. So after I give it the initial value, because I'm going to have rows, multiple rows return or multiple record set return, I have to loop through those records. So I can use a for each loop or I can use a counter, but I like using for each because it's a bit straightforward. So I'll simply take my data because it's a JSON object. Then I say for each element. Now it will allow me to have two things, the element that I'm working with, and of course the index of that element. I only need the element that I'm working with. So I'll simply say here, run another anonymous function with now the country. So because it is taking each element, and each element is going to be called country at that point. Now, since I already have country as an object, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to say results will be, so I'm just incrementing on results. I'll put option, I'll put the value to be the country name. So that will be country dot country ID because this data is going to return country ID. Then I'll close the option. I'll close the value. Then allow output the name of the country, which is country dot country name. Then I will close my option like that. Now, once I'm done with that, that will only allow me to be able to look through all the countries that have come in. Then for each country, I create an option because that's how HTML creates options for itself. So I create the options, whether there are 10 countries, there are 5 countries, there are 100 countries, it will look through all of them, then give me that value. So once I am done, I'll take this object that the user has provided, then change it HTML to the results value. So when done, I'll simply take the object that has been passed, then I'll say change the HTML to results. And that should allow me to populate the country. So I can populate countries here and I can populate countries on the other side. That's why I have written it as a function, because I might want to reuse it more than once. I can use it to populate this country. I can also use it to populate this other country. As you can see, that is not going to work. That is not going to work. When the page loads, this is not going to work because the way this address is not how our local server works. So we're going to change that shortly. So what we can do is we can first of all populate this country, then populate this country. So what you're going to do is we declare them as variables. So I'll simply say um, filter country list as, I'll pick its ID and I'll say city country ID, city country list, city country list is equals to. So I'll just pick them from here. So the first one is this one, country list. So it's here. The filter. Where are the filters? Um, that's where are we? So this is country. No, it's not countries. We're dealing with cities. So for city, yeah, I have this filter here. This is filter country. So I'll make it part of this ID. Then I'll pick this other one for details now, which is this one, and I'll put it here. And now I want you to see what happens. Now, when the page loads, I'll say here, load countries from the database. Okay? So I'll simply say get countries. The object I want to fill first is this one, but I will not say choose, I will say all, because I want to, you can either filter by all the countries or by choosing a country. So that should display all. That won't work here. I know it won't work for now, but I'll repeat again, get countries. Now this time I'll fill this other list. So I'm just trying to show you as you're writing code, this is how you write it. This other one, the default is choose. So even if I left it out, it will pick choose by default. So I've said here, there's an option, but its default value is choose. So if I don't provide choose, it will pick that value. So when I want to pick a country, when I want to save a country, I need to choose. When I want to save a city, rather, I need to choose which country it belongs to. And that's why for this one, I will use choose. When I'm filtering countries, I might show a specific country or all the countries. That's why I'm using all over here. So I can't run this thing like this, but what I can do is I can run my local server, which is localhost. Then I can go to my Expedia, um, Expedia application. Then inside Expedia, I can go to now this city.html. So when I load that, if everything works fine, I should be able to see all my cities here. So you can see I have all my countries here. And these are the countries that I have within the system. Trust me. So if I come back here and I open countries, which is Expedia, and I pick countries, so you can see these are all the countries that I have here. So if I added here, so if I added here, say South Sudan, that is done. So if I just refresh this page, I should see now I have South Sudan. So you can see now that makes it. And then again, if I come to add city, you'll see now it is written choose, but now I have all the cities including South Sudan. So it means now our API is working. I only need to write a function once, and once I write this function over here, I can be able to use it multiple times. Like here, I've used it times. So every time I need to get my countries, I'll simply call this function, tell it where to load the data and how I want this first option to look like. Is it choose or is it all, like in this case. So once I tell it that, it will be able to perform that magic for me. Now I want to show you what I was saying. Like for example, if there was an issue with the data that's being returned, so maybe for some strange reason I have misspelled this as double S. So if I misspell that, then when it fails, I can simply put here, I have notifications up here. So what I can do is I can come and put a notification there. I can put a notification there. So I'll come here and I'll put just before the row, I'll put filter city notifications. So this filter city notifications, if there's an error, I'll simply come and say, okay, I can declare it as a variable, filter city notifications. Then that will be filter city notifications, like that. So filter city notifications. So if there's an error, I'll pick this one. Then I'll say it's HTML would be. Uh, I'll say create a div. Sorry, I'll create a div here. Well, let me use a template string. I'll create a div here with a class of alert. Now this is Bootstrap. Then I'll say alert danger. So I want it to be red because it's an error. Then from there, I will output my message. So because it gives me a response, I'll pick that response. Then I'll pick the response text. Because the response comes with some multiple properties, I want the text property of the response. Text, like that. Then I'll close that. So what will happen is then of course I need to close the div, like that. So it means that whenever there's an error inside the div that I've created up here, that error will be able to show me there what the problem is. So because I have missed this, it means that it's not going to be found. So let me see if that error shows up. Right, click on it. F5. It means that it's not picking it up. Is there a problem? Yeah, it looks like there's a problem in my JavaScript file. Yeah, I think now it's okay. I had removed something. So let's refresh. So you can see it has given me an error, not found. So the requested URL was not found. So I know that, well, this URL was not found. So I click on that and I refresh it again. Now there's no error and everything works fine. So this is example of how we can be able to handle the errors, right? So again, if there is a problem, it will always tell me where the issues are actually coming from. So that's why when I'm saying get JSON, I'm saying when this done, do this, and if it fails, do this. Okay, so now we have our countries listed properties, so we can filter by our country. Let's now add a new city. So since I have this over here, let's see how to be able to effectively now go ahead and save this data on our server. Okay, so to save this data, first and foremost, I must pick a country, then I must also provide a city name. Then I send over the data, then the feedback that I get, I will also tell the user as appropriate. So let's listen this save button. Let's get its ID and also the city name. So we'll come up here. Then we'll say city name field. I'll select it by ID. Then save city button. I'll also pick it by ID. Then the notifications. City detail notifications. City detail notifications. I'll also pick the map. Okay. So um, city name field, I'll come here. The city name is here, not filter, but the one for saving, which is here. So I'll pick that ID and I'll paste it here. That. I don't know why my machine is a bit sluggish today. Okay, city name is fine. Then I'll also need a save button. I didn't give it an ID, so I can give it here ID. Save city. So you need to give your elements IDs, and especially if you're going to use them in code, it makes it easy for you to work with them. Then the notifications are going to be somewhere here. It is this city details notification. I already created it. Um, Select it and put it inside here. Now we just do our validation and save the city. So I'll put here uh, save city. So to save city, I'll need to listen to when somebody clicks on this button, right? So I'll pick that button, then I will listen to when it is clicked. So when somebody clicks on it, then what you're going to do is we're going to run this anonymous function. JavaScript is very synonymous with anonymous functions. So that's why you'll be seeing every time I'm doing something, I'll be calling an anonymous function. Every time I'm doing something, I'll be calling an anonymous function. So here we don't have the city ID because that's supposed to be used for editing. So let's just go ahead and add it and make it 0 by default. So we'll create an input here that is hidden. So an input that is hidden and has an ID of city ID like that. Then we'll give it a default value of 0 because we said when the value is 0, it means you're adding a new one. If the value is not 0, it means you're updating what is existing. So again here, I'll have city ID field. So that will be city ID. So I'll just declare my variables down here. So city ID will be city ID field dot value. Then I'll have country ID will be the country ID would be city country list dot value, city country list dot value. Then we'll now have the city name, and city name will be now this city name field, the value that you pick from it. Dot city name. Of course, these ones you can declare them as constants because they're not going to change. Then the next thing we're going to do is to check for blank fields. So checking for blank fields will mean if city ID can have a blank because it's either 0 or a value, usually it will always have a value, so I don't need to check it. But I need to check if you've selected the country and if you've provided city name because this one can be choose. When you pick choose, the value for choose was blank. So it means that no value has been selected. But if I pick any other, it means that now it's going to have a proper value. So we need to check that first. So I'll simply say if country ID is blank, then I can simply say alert, please select country. Okay. Then I can put focus on the country so that there is a no dot focus. Otherwise, if the country is not blank, I'll check if the city name is blank. Then I'll say alert, please select city name. Not select but provide. So once I do that, I'll simply go there and set focus there so that you can be able to now start typing. Otherwise, if all of them are not blank, then I can go ahead and save. Okay. So how do I save? Simple. I'll use jQuery and I'll tell it post. Now post has two parameters. First of all is the URL, which goes into our controllers, and then we go into city operations. .php. Once we are at city operation, we can now pass our payload. Okay, so we'll come to city operations, then check what does the payload for city require. So city operations here, when I want to save the city, which is here, I need city ID, city name, and country ID. So I'll say, first of all, save city is required. So save city, I'll set it to true. City ID, I'll set it to city ID. Now, the good thing with JavaScript is if your statement looks like this variable that is being passed over to the post is the same as the variable name that you have on your on your script, then you can just remove it entirely if they look the same. You can say this is city ID full colon city ID. So if I remove this, that is exactly the same thing. I'll leave it there just for your view purposes, but that is exactly the same thing. So I can use city ID, I can do city name, and I can do country ID. Now, there's no L here. So that's how it is. So this is variable that I'm passing over, the value being attached to it. If they're the same, you can entirely remove that portion over there. So I can remove that, and I can remove that, and I can remove that, and that statement looks identical. It's ideally the same as it were before. Trust me on that. I can leave them out for your for your perusal, but trust me, it's exactly the same. Now the third parameter is the data that comes back. So we're going to have an anonymous function with the data that comes back from the response. Then from here, we're going to check whether it was successful or not, whether the country exists or not, and so forth and so forth. But with that, I'll need to check if the data that came back is a JSON object. So how do I check if there is a JSON object? I write a function here to check if something is JSON. Well, I already wrote it before, so I don't need to invent the wheel. So let me just do a new window over here, then copy it from an existing project because yeah, it's just 3 lines of code and it's pointless for me to start explaining how to check for a JSON object. I think it's called is JSON. Is JSON, not that one, but another is JSON. Yeah, I think this one. So let's just take this function. I'll close that up and I'll put it down here. So is JSON. We'll simply check if whatever has been returned is a JSON object, then that's basically it. So once we get our data back from the server, we're going to check if, if is JSON the data that came back. Okay? If it's JSON, if the data that came back is JSON, then we know that it was successful. Otherwise, if it is not JSON, we know that there was an error. Okay? So is JSON is successful? Not JSON means there was an error. So if it was successful, so it means that these data notifications, we need to tell them that this country has been saved successfully. So here we can simply say these notifications dot html. I'm going to create a template string. I'll give an alert with a class of alert and alert success, like that. Then I will output my data here. Then I'll close the div, like that. So the data that I want to put here is, well, like it can just be plain text, something like the city was saved successfully. So it will be green in color. So Alert success means it's going to be an alert with green in color. Now, if it was successful, so here I just need to check if data dot status was success. Because remember, we're returning a JSON object and it has a status. Either the status exists or the status is successful. If I try to add an existing city, it will tell me the city exists. If I try to, if it does not exist, then it is saved successfully. So I'll put that inside here. So otherwise, else if data.status is equals to exists, then I also tell the user appropriately the city exists. So alert, this will be info. I'll tell them city name already exists. Then I can maybe put focus on the city name so that they type in a new one, right? Like that. Otherwise, if it was not a JSON object, what I would simply tell them is an error occurred. Sorry, I'll pick this and tell them an error occurred. So this one will now be danger, and I'll tell them, sorry, an error occurred. Then I will output my error so that you know what error actually occurred. If it is successful, I can clear the city name so that you can now be able to add a new city. So I'll come here and clear the city name. So I'll say dot value is blank, then set focus on it. So you can actually chain. The good thing with JavaScript, it allows you to be able to chain. Since I'm only talking about the same thing and it's a variable, I can execute this command or this property. Then once I'm done, I can execute this other property on the same object. And that's the beauty of it. So I'm just trying to show us how to mix and match most of these things together in terms of how the application is going to be created. Now, this should actually work out and everything should be clear enough. So if I try to add a city that does exist, then it will be able to tell me the city exists. Otherwise, it will be able to save the city in the system. So let's see if this works out. So again, I'll push them side by side like that. So I have this. I can refresh this, add a new city here, click on save. You see, it tells me, please select country. Now, I don't like the look of this. Usually, I just like to show the error up here. So maybe we can fix that. So instead of just showing an alert, so we can just pick this notification. You can pick this notification and put info and say whatever it is that you wanted to say. Please select city first. That would look nicer. Then again here, we'll repeat the same thing. So instead of using that alert, we want it to be consistent across multiple browsers. So the way it looks on Windows, on Chrome, is how it looks on Internet Explorer or Edge or Mozilla Firefox or Phoenix or any other browser. The look should be more or less the same. So if we do it that way, then the look would be fairly consistent. So I'll put info here. Then I'll say, please provide country name. Provide city name first. Something of the sort. Now, of course, as you pick this, that error should go away, and as you type here, that error should go away. Let me just explain what I mean. If I did that and I say add a new city, and I click on that, you can see it says please add city first. I don't know why it is floating. Ideally, it should have been at the top there. But if I pick city, that should actually go away. Then if I save, now you say it tells me to provide the city name. So if I provide the city name something like that's South Africa, I say Pretoria. This should actually go away. So when I say save, it should be able to save and give me the feedback. Now it's not saving, but that's okay. We'll need to find out where that issue is coming from. But you get my idea. So let's clear this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to declare some two variables up here, um, global variables. So this global variable is going to be an input field to listen to all inputs. So I'll have input field, which will listen to anything that's an input. Then I also have a select field, which will listen to all select. I need to put a comma here. So whenever there's a change in an input field, so I'll say input field dot on input, run the following function, anonymous function again in JavaScript. So I'll just take this division here and make it blank. So that's city detail notifications dot html is equals to blank. And when somebody also changes on a select field, so this select field dot whenever it changes, run the following anonymous function. Now, and this is the beauty of now jQuery. Instead of repeating this code here, I'll simply tell you to trigger this input. So I'll set this input field, trigger its input. Now, the beauty with that is that when I make changes to that particular element, this one, this input field, dot trigger input. So it means that whatever change I make inside here, this will automatically copy it. So I don't need to redo that code over and over again. So again, I'm just trying to show you these are some of the best practices that we have up there. So I'll refresh this page again. I'll say add city. Since there's a problem, what's the problem? So we can go to inspect. We can check our console. It tells us select field dot on. Okay, select field. Yeah, select field. This one. Select field. Yeah, it looks okay. Dot on is not a function. Probably. Yeah. Let me just try again. F5. That should not be an issue. That should not be an issue. Um, hmm. Oh, so this is select. Oh, I didn't put this dollar sign here. That's the problem. So it didn't you see it as a select object. So that I think that was the issue. So let me just refresh that. Again, as you can see, even a seasoned professional like me makes mistakes, but that's the beauty of it. So if I don't choose a country and I say that and I pick a country, you can see that goes away. If I don't type a name and I pick a name and I say, well, let me pick countries that I know. I know Sudan has Khartoum. So if I start typing Khartoum, you see it goes away. So actually that is very nice because now our user interface is starting to become responsive and it's now becoming useful as we go along. So at this point in time, if I click on save, it should save and it should tell me up here that it saved successfully, which it is not. So it means that there's an error back here. So I'll come to inspect back here and I'll check the console if there are any errors. There's no error on the console. Then I'll come to network over here. When I click on save,
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
We cannot hear you.
you can't hear me. Okay. It's telling me my mic isn't working. Let me try to fix that out. Let me try to fix that out. Hmm. Looks like I lost my network. So so let me see. I'm connecting to my wireless connection. I think probably maybe to be able to fix that. Okay. So let me just try again. So let me try to rejoin. I think there was an issue with my network. I lost power, but nonetheless, um, let's let's carry on. Yeah, sorry, I lost my network connectivity and it's now back. So I think we'll just carry on from there. Okay, can you be able to hear me now? Can you be able to hear me now? Class, can you be able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Okay, so regardless, I think I'll just, oh, sorry. Can you be able to hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I was saying we have written the code perfectly, but it seems not to be working, and we should be able to see why the error is, what is causing the error up there. It's not coming. So let's first of all check, is it pushing the data to the server, and is everything working as fine? So if it is pushing the data to the server, what you need to do is right click on this, then say inspect. Then you go to here and you pick the network tab. So it will show you the network activity. I'm using Chrome. By the way, if you're using a different platform like Mozilla and all that, it might be the same, but just make sure that you're seeing the network. So when I click on save, it will tell me that there's some network activity here. So when I click on that network activity, I'm going to see the city name already exists. So yes, it saved it, but it did not display for me the error. Okay, because initially it was not existing. Then when I save it for the first time, it exists, but now the error is not showing. So we need to figure out why the error is not showing because we want to tell our user exactly that. So I'll come here and probably I'll just try to start and troubleshoot what is going on. So if that data is JSON, so the only thing I need to do here is to pass that JSON. So I should have said data equals JSON dot pass data. So that's the mistake that I made, and that's why it was not working. This JSON has to be capital letters. JavaScript is a very silly language. Sometimes, yes, the format might look like JSON, but passing it as a JSON object actually makes it a JSON object. Then from there now, I can be able to pick its status and its properties. That's why there was no error because it was JSON, but I could not be able to execute this particular portion, so that's why the output was not coming out. Again, as you can see, as you write code, you make mistakes and then you move on from there. So what I'll do is I'll refresh this. I'll press Control F5 to make sure that all JavaScript files are loaded. Click on Add City. Start with that. It tells me please select city. I'll pick Ethiopia. I'll save. I'll say I want Addis Ababa. Addis Ababa. Then when I click on save, the city was saved successfully, as you can see. Then another city in Ethiopia is Asmara, and I can save that, and it's saved. So if I try to save Asmara again, it tells me the city name exists. So it means that our code is working perfectly. So even if I went back to our database and I checked, if I went to our database and checked the cities to see what cities are now inside there, I'll be able to see that I have Addis Ababa and Asmara added as country for country number 4, which in this particular case is Ethiopia. So you can see now our code is working. So our REST API, we are able to call them back and forth as far as our page is concerned, and the information is able to be relayed on our page. Okay. I know that is quite a mouthful, and it takes practice to be able to get it to that level. But I think I've tried to make it as simple as possible, just to make sure you get an understanding of how you can use the regular tools that we have. The only thing I've added is Fontawesome and probably jQuery, just to make the heavy lifting a little bit easier as far as our code is concerned. So I've only used those two new ones, but I think HTML, CSS, and JavaScript you already used before, which is what I have actually been trying to implement back here. Okay, and as you can see, I didn't do anything on my database, I didn't do anything on my REST API. I just create my pages and try to create functions to do repetitive tasks like add countries. Then from there, I'm able to now add events inside my objects. Then I'm able to execute the REST APIs, and they're able to give me the results back and forth. Then I can also be able to tell the same to my end users. All right. So probably maybe we need to fix this. This one is not working nicely. I don't know why. So let's just go and add it in such a way that it will look much better. So we'll come to city over here, and these city notifications, and well, totally there. So probably I'll put class of margin bottom of 3, so that it leaves some space up there in the event that there is some issue. So add, save. Yeah, I think that looks much, much better. Okay. Yeah, so I think that looks much, much better. So you can make it bigger, you can make it 4, you can make it all the way up to 6 if you want, but I think that should just be enough. So you can see it gives me that. Okay. Any question up to that point, or should I continue? We still have a lot of work to do, but I think also this is quite some heavy lifting for your case. So maybe you might want to take some time, see what I have achieved. I'll make this code available on the repository so you can be able to clone it and maybe follow up on exactly what I have been trying to achieve. I think that should be able to help us in being able to understand how all the components work together. So I'll push this code on the repo. You can look at it. Then probably you can practice it. When we come to the next class, we'll go further ahead with this component over here. We're just going to see how we can filter by country, filter by city name, display the airports here. Then we can be able to edit them and save them back into the database. That is the city. And then probably you'll be able to see how now the 360 works. But for now, what's important is for you to be able to set up your page. You should be able to fetch data from the backend like countries. You should be able to show up a model. You should also be able to validate your form. And as you can see, that is JavaScript. From validating your form, you should be able to post the data back to your database, and then you'll be able to see how that works out. So that is really what this lab 6 was all about. So I'll give us an opportunity to ask for questions or any comments. Then I think we can take a break at that. Okay, looks like I've lost my network, so I'll just make the video available for us. We'll be able to carry on from there next time. Have a wonderful rest of the day.